Hey guys, so here is the prep work that we're going to be doing for today's class, Intro to Charcoal. Okay, sorry, lost my charcoal. Right, so we're gonna start with willow charcoal and just some really basic exercises. I'm going to have you use the front side of the charcoal and the side of the charcoal to see those effects, as well as dragging the charcoal down on its sides. For the next section, I'd like you to just test it out using light pressure, heavier pressure, and mixed pressure. So that's where it's light, then heavy, then light. And then we'll move on to lifting out, which is when we use our eraser. So I'm just going to use the side of the charcoal to color in an area here, then I'll smudge it. And then you want to use kind of harder pressure here with your eraser, but you can lift out the charcoal with your eraser. Then there's hatching, which is just going side to side. So you're sort of feathering the charcoal like this, just very lightly, which we can also smudge to make a base. Contoured hatching, which is going to follow the contours of an object. We can also just do scribbling, which is going to create some nice textural effects. And then frottage, which is when you just allow the surface of something underneath the charcoal to show through. So in this case, I've put a coin underneath it, and as you can see, it's showing through. I mean, this is often going to just be unintentional because you're going to have, for instance, the side of the paper shows through. Charcoal really does pick up whatever is underneath it. And then we'll move on to our first exercise, in which we're going to put together a couple of these techniques using willow charcoal, just to get used to using the medium. So let's start by drawing a rectangle. And this is just because if we use a full sheet of paper, it's going to be a pain to set a ground. And then in the upper left-hand corner, let's place a little circle like that. Halfway through this, we're going to very lightly draw a line. So this is light pressure that we're using, and a dot in the middle of that line. And then we're going to bring lines down to the side of our page. This is going to help us with the perspective in this scene that we're about to create. And it might kind of disappear in this next step, but we can always redraw it in. And then we're going to use the charcoal on its side. Have to make sure you're using a relatively flat surface here to set a ground everywhere except where we've put that little oval in the top left-hand corner. Okay, now we're going to smudge. And since we've lost some details, we can move back in, and I'm just going to drag the side of the charcoal to make a side of what's going to be the sidewalk. On this side, we're going to have some building, so I'm going to break off a piece of my charcoal and just pull it down on the side, so kind of going outwards on some of these, pulling out to the side, then angling it down, so along that line that we first drew out, coming down this way. Then the next one I'll do horizontally, so flat, drag it down, angle it back to the side. If you want some light hitting the building, you can leave a little area in between. So I'm just going to angle it. But the useful thing here is that the charcoal itself, since it's a straight line. It's sort of like using a ruler as a medium. It's just going to go where you pull it. And I'll put a little bit of shade on the side of this building here and this building here. And we can also put in just a few little ideas of windows. And also we can get some rooftops. And a bit of shade on this side of the street. Behind this, we are going to just scribble in the background. So again, if you're imagining that line of perspective, we want more scribbles further away. And you just scribble and then sort of smudge so that we're building up this scribbled kind of texture. Then moving into the foreground, we'll use some contoured hatching in a very loose sense since we're not working from an actual image. So just smudging. I'm thinking, let me just get that coin. We could actually even do a moon up here with the frottage technique. Darken this sky a bit. Let's do a bit of scribbling down here just so it's not too light. And also get a side of the sidewalk in using the side of the charcoal coming back. We can smudge that. We can start smudging kind of inwards so that we get a little bit of glow around this area here. Now using our compressed charcoal, we can start to make a street lamp. So just going to get the reference here, 1 second. So this can be quite simple. We'll just come up here and we're using the compressed charcoal because it's going to stick to the page a little bit more. So the proportion is a little bit crazy on this one, but that's okay. I'm going to come in with the compressed charcoal just to get a few more details of this tree in the foreground in. And then also come in with some tree trunks. And some further detailing on the building closest to us. A little bit further back here. And now lifting out. So we want to bring the light cast by the street lamp through the composition. And because we haven't reserved this spot, these lights are going to be ever so slightly darker than the street lamp itself, but it'll be good for like the idea of street lamps receding off in the distance along that line. And I'm just mixing together vertical and horizontal marks to create like this sense of luminosity. I want to make sure that my light values are really concentrated where I want them to be, so I'm just going to come in with a little bit of hatching up here to darken it with the willow charcoal, a little bit over here. And finally, I can use the side of the charcoal again to create some cobblestones. So just coming out with the side of this and then using it on its side to crop those off. And as we move towards the front of the page, we can just kind of darken up some of these details to make them seem like they're coming towards us a bit more. Okay, so there's our super simple street scene using our charcoal techniques. And in the next part of class, we'll go on to using hatching and creating graduation with our charcoals. So for the next part of class, we'll be drawing a pearl. I'm going to start this by setting a ground and reserving the highlight, and then gradually with the willow charcoal building up the details of the shadows, leaving some of the ground there for the reflected light. So just building up with willow charcoal. At a certain point, you'll find the willow charcoal is rubbing off the paper more than it's sticking. And at that point, you can switch to your compressed charcoal to put in sharper details. And that's going to stick to the page a little bit more. So we'll finish this. It's just a lot of sort of moving around, and then we'll move on to a still life.